In today's video, I'm going to talk about one habit or discipline that if you incorporate this, I believe you'll come away with more confidence, more clarity, more courage, more connection with God, and just an attitude where you feel like you can conquer the day. And that habit is Bible meditation. And I'm going to give you an example of what that's like. In this day and age, all this information comes at us. It comes in one ear, and it's like it goes out the other ear. What you read in the morning, you very rarely retain or remember throughout the day. But adding the habit or discipline of Bible meditation is something that is simple, and that scripture will stick with you all day. I got an example here. I've got a tea bag and I've got uh, hot water here. So think about like the tea bag is like one scripture, and this is your mind. And we want the scripture to seep into our mind. If you just put it in and then take it out, guess what? Not not much has happened. Not much was retained in here. In fact, it still looks super clear. So you may think, oh, you know what? I'm going to put more scriptures in. So you grab a whole chapter. You got a whole chapter of scriptures. I'm going to read 10 scriptures a day. So you take that, you put those 10 scriptures in, you let it go in, and then you pull it right out. And oh, guess what? Well, you know what? 10 did 10 did do something, but it still looks, pretty weak. How effective would this tea be uh, with that much tea in it? But now just think, instead of taking the time to focus on 10 scriptures, if you took one scripture that was based on something that you are uh, wanting results in. So let's say you want more peace in your life. You've got a lot of anxiety and you want peace in your life. Well, start focusing and meditating on scriptures of peace. And this is what happens. You put that scripture in and then you start meditating on it. What is meditating? Meditating is like focusing on what this one scripture, and the way that you can get the most out of it would be to write it out. What I do is I write it out 10 times, and then each time that I write it out, I highlight or circle one specific word in that sentence or in that scripture, and then I focus on it. I emphasize it. I read it out loud. And then I go to the second time that I wrote it out and I circle and highlight the second word. And then I read it out loud and I emphasize that word. And I continue to do that all 10 times. And what starts to happen is that scripture starts to go from my mind. I start to memorize it, and it starts to drop in my heart. And if you look at what's happening. That that T, that scripture is starting to sink. It's going down like from your head, like down into your heart. And there's another exercise that I do is I take that scripture and I rewrite it out, and I use different words than what that scripture has in whatever translation I'm reading. I rewrite that scripture out using different words without losing the meaning of the scripture. And what that does is it helps me articulate or think about like synonyms or words. It drives the meaning of that scripture more into my heart, more into memory, more personalization of it. And then another exercise that I do is I draw a picture of the scripture, just like stick figures, but I get this mental picture in my head of what that scripture, what I see in my head when I read that scripture out and I draw it out. And then the last thing that I do is I take that scripture and I write a prayer or a devotion over it. And what I notice when I get to the part where I'm writing out the scripture as a prayer or devotion, it comes out as like prayer of gratitude, of thankfulness. When you have an attitude of gratitude, when you're thankful, that is what guards your heart and mind, and you can take that throughout your day. Look what it's done. It is totally being seeped out. Just one scripture. There's way more seepage with this than with just taking a bunch of scriptures and going in and out. I've been doing this for a while now, and it's been so effective that I've actually created a journal. And I want to offer you this journal. It's called the Meditation Journal. And this one specifically is about peace and overcoming anxiety. And it takes you through the exercises that I just showed you on here, writing it out 10 times or as many times as fits in here. And each time you write it out, you highlight or circle a word in that scripture, and then you read it out loud and emphasize it. And then you can rewrite it out in your own words. Then you're able to draw a picture of it, and then there's a space where you can just write a prayer out or devotion. And I found this is helping me retain more with actually doing less. If you're interested in doing this, you can click the link in the description. You'll be able to download the PDF version of this and do it for yourself. If you got something out of this, like, subscribe, and share. And hey, we'll see you on the next one.